Creative Writing. My name's Miss Jasmine. I am super excited to be here with you guys today. We are going to dive into some poetry, dive into some free writing, and start talking about what is creative writing and what it's all about. So first things first, does everybody have something to write with, like by hand, a pen or a pencil? See a pencil there? Awesome. Hold it up so I can see. Nice, fabulous. Thank you. All right, so we've got pencil and then something to write on. So I have like this little notebook. You can have, yeah, perfect. Austin, looks good. Everyone have like just loose leaf paper will be fine. If you have like a nice folder or binder to put it in, just some sort of like small notebook, whatever. Everyone has something to write with and to write on. Looking good. All right. So how we're going to begin class is with a 5-minute free write. And most of the time in class, we'll have a prompt. We'll have something that you're responding to. Because honestly, like free writing can be really tough. It's like, I can write about literally anything, so I don't know where to start. I'm lost. But this is a really good exercise in just starting to get your ideas flowing. So free write, 5 minutes. The only rule is that you can't stop writing for the entire time. So even if that means you're writing in your book, I have nothing to say, I have nothing to say, I have nothing to say over and over again, fine. Guess what? Eventually, you're gonna have something to say. So just start that way and see what happens. Eventually it'll be like, oh yeah, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't have to have structure, it doesn't have to make sense. No one is ever going to read this. It is just for you to start writing. So I'm going to pull up a timer. So you have 5 minutes, just write. Here we go, and begin. So there shouldn't be any talking right now. It should be quiet and we're just writing. So some of you, I can tell, are absolutely not writing. So let's get out your pencil and paper and just go for it. Remember, even if that means writing, I have nothing to say, I have nothing to say, I have nothing to say, over and over. The idea is just to put pen to paper, get ideas flowing. About halfway there. You're doing great. Keep writing. So there shouldn't be a lot of laughing and smiling and talking right now. We still have 1 more minute. Thirty seconds. All right. Go ahead and put your pens and pencils down. For those of you who took the exercise seriously, which I hope was all of you, please go ahead and unmute yourself. Tell me, what was that experience like?
I guess it felt like writing something down for 5 minutes.
What were you writing? You don't have to share specifics, but in general, what were you writing?
Oh, Minecraft good, Fortnite bad.
You wrote that.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
Wait, did you see that?
Okay.
Did Jordan tell her that? Yeah, it's Jordan. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
That is fine. You follow the instructions, writing over and over. So one would hope that after writing that so many times, you might have more to say than just good and bad, because honestly, those are pretty boring words, and I think you can be a little more creative. But again, just putting pencil to paper and getting something down is better than nothing. Does anyone else have anything they can share from what that experience is like? And again, you don't have to share content, just kind of like, yeah, it was really hard, or you know what, it was really easy and the time went by really fast. Once I had something to say, I realized like I didn't want to stop. Nope, no one else wants to share? All right, that's fine. We will move on. So today, one of our main focuses is going to be talking about what is poetry. So when I say poetry, what does that make you guys think of? You're welcome to either unmute yourself or put it in the chat.
Bars.
Sorry, you can't all talk at once. Rhyming. Okay, absolutely. Does poetry have to rhyme though?
No.
It doesn't have to. A lot of times it does though, so that's still can be a very important factor of poetry. Anything else? What does poetry make you think of? It could be sad or just emotion in general. Absolutely. So poetry is going to give us feelings, emotional language. Absolutely. And I know it can be kind of tricky to actually define what poetry is, not just for students, but for anybody. So we're actually going to watch a little video that talks about what makes a poem a poem. And it's kind of funny because the conclusion you'll find that they come to is like, we don't really know. So here we go. Can everyone see this? See the video? We good? Awesome.
Muhammad Ali spent years training to become the greatest boxer the world had ever seen, but only moments to create the shortest poem. Ali captivated Harvard's graduating class in 1975 with his message of unity and friendship. When he finished, the audience wanted more. They wanted a poem. Ali delivered what is considered the shortest poem ever. Me, we. Or is it me, we? No one's really sure. Regardless, if these two words are a poem, then what exactly makes a poem a poem? Poets themselves have struggled with this question, often using metaphors to approximate a definition. Is a poem a little machine, a firework, an echo, a dream? Poetry generally has certain recognizable characteristics. 1. Poems emphasize language's musical qualities. This can be achieved through rhyme, rhythm, and meter, from the sonnets of Shakespeare to the odes of Confucius to the Sanskrit Vedas. 2. Poems use condensed language, like literature, with all the water wrung out of it. 3. Poems often feature intense feelings, from Rumi's spiritual poetry to Pablo Neruda's Ode to an Onion. Poetry, like art itself, has a way of challenging simple definitions. While the rhythmic patterns of the earliest poems were a way to remember stories even before the advent of writing, a poem doesn't need to be lyrical. Reinhard Doll's Apfel and Eugen Gomringer's Silencio toe the line between visual art and poetry. Meanwhile, E.E. Cummings wrote poems whose shapes were as important as the words themselves, in this case, amplifying the sad loneliness of a single leaf falling through space. If the visual nature of poetry faded into the background, perhaps we'd be left with music. And that's an area that people love to debate. Are songs poems? Many don't regard songwriters as poets in a literary sense, but lyrics from artists like Paul Simon, Bob Dylan, and Tupac Shakur often hold up even without the music. In rap, poetic elements like rhyme, rhythm, and imagery are inseparable from the form. Take this lyric from the Notorious B.I.G. I can hear sweat trickling down your cheek. Your heartbeats sound like Sasquatch feet, thundering, shaking the concrete. So far, all the examples we've seen have had line breaks. We can even imagine the two words of Ali's poem organizing in the air: me, we. Poetry has a shape that we can usually recognize. Its line breaks help readers navigate the rhythms of a poem. But what if those line breaks disappeared? Would it lose its essence as a poem? Maybe not. Enter the prose poem. Prose poems use vivid images and wordplay, but are formatted like paragraphs. When we look at poetry less as a form and more as a concept, we can see the poetic all around us. Spiritual hymns, the speeches of orators like Martin Luther King Jr., JFK, and Winston Churchill, and surprising places like social media. In 2010, journalist Joanna Smith tweeted updates from the earthquake in Haiti. Was in B room getting dressed when heard my name. Tremor. Ran outside through sliding door. All still now. Safe. Roosters crowing. Smith uses language in a way that is powerful, direct, and filled with vivid images. Compare her language to a haiku, the ancient Japanese poetic form that emphasizes bursts of brief intensity, with just 3 lines of 5, 7, and 5 syllables. The waters of poetry run wide and deep. Poetry has evolved over time, and perhaps now more than ever, the line between poetry, prose, song, and visual art has blurred. However, one thing has not changed. The word poetry actually began in verb form, coming from the ancient Greek poiesis, which means to create. Poets, like craftsmen, still work with the raw materials of the world to forge new understandings and comment on what it is to be human in a way only humans can. Dartmouth researchers tested this idea by asking robots to pen poetry. A panel of judges sorted through stacks of sonnets to see if they could distinguish those made by man and machine. You may be happy to know that while scientists have successfully used artificial intelligence in manufacturing, medicine, and even journalism, poetry is a different story. The robots were caught red-handed 100% of the time.
All right. So tell me, either unmute yourself or in the chat, after watching that, what do we think poetry is?
Like a mix of a lot of different like styles of expressing yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely a mix. We saw some of the poets use more visual cues, like E. E. Cummings, with the shape of the words actually looks like a leaf falling through the air. Or others, it's more musical. It might rhyme. It might sound more like a song. Totally. What else is interesting or stuck out to you? Yeah, the me, we, boom, he wrote a poem. It can be that short and that simple. And it can be interpreted in a lot of different ways, right? It might mean different things to different people based on the experiences that they've had in their life. So it looks like you copy and pasted a definition of poetry from somewhere. Cool. But there is a lot of expression of feelings and ideas. Again, like they talked about in their videos, similar to rap, there's usually some kind of rhythmic element that makes it distinctive, as opposed to prose, which is sentence by sentence by sentence, not really worried about rhyme or meter. Yeah, he was in our video. It was pretty cool. So there is a quote by a poem. He said, "It is difficult to get the news from poems, yet men die miserably every day for lack of what is found there." So what do you think he meant by that? I'll read it again. "It is difficult to get the news from poems, yet men die miserably every day for lack of what is found there." It's by William Carlos Williams. It's like, do you read poems every day? Maybe, maybe not. You probably read the news every day. Why is it important to read poetry, to study it, to have it be a part of your life?
You can learn about the past if they're pretty old poets.
It could be a tool to learn, absolutely. And if you read a poem from a different time period, say, you're going to learn about what that person's culture was like, what their feelings were about their culture. So it's definitely a tool to learn. What else? Why would we die from not getting what is there in poetry? Those are strong words that he's using. So poetry is all about feeling and expression and uniting people, letting writers and readers know that they're not alone in feeling those things. It kind of creates a community, and humans need community. A lot of our news is very divisive. It's one side pitted against the other. There's a lot of conflict and turmoil. But poetry, there may be conflict and turmoil in poetry, but at the end of the day, it's saying we all experience this. We're all in this together. It gives us a sense of unity, of belonging. Saying, wow, if the poet felt this way and I feel this way, I feel less alone. So it's a way for us to connect to other people, even though you might not ever read the poet. They live on throughout forever through the words that they leave us, which is a pretty awesome legacy. So I'm going to share with you now a poem by William Carlos Williams. And you're going to see a lot of the elements that we've talked about, the distinctive visual way that it's written, the rich imagery. Called The Red Wheelbarrow. So much depends upon a red wheelbarrow, glazed with rainwater, beside the white chickens. So take a minute, just look at that poem. and tell me what stands out to you about this poem. What do you think? What maybe image kind of pops? What do you think he's trying to say? What was the message here?
A lot depends on a wheelbarrow that's next to chickens. A used wheelbarrow.
A used wheelbarrow, that's important. So we know that it's somebody needs this for their livelihood. So much depends upon it. Why did he pick red? Right? That's a very bold color. Why did he add the chickens? To me, that kind of says, I'm picturing a very rural farm area, and if it's raining, wet, it kind of gives it kind of a melancholy feel that they can't go out and work today because it's raining, and so much of their livelihood depends on those crops out there. So maybe the rain is a good thing. Oftentimes things symbolize, yes. So it is literally one thing, but it's there to represent an idea or represent someone else, and sometimes a person. So when I read this, I start thinking about who owns this wheelbarrow. Are they a farmer? Do they have a family? Are they poor? And it gets you to start empathizing with a character that's not even in the poem. That's how powerful that imagery is. And notice he doesn't just say, it's raining, but the water is glazed. That's such a beautiful imagery word. And the white chickens, you can picture them kind of squabbling in the rain. So all of that just from those very few simple lines. So what's cool about poetry is it's not just about choosing the right words, but what words to leave out too, because you don't want to overdo it and you don't want to underdo it. It's a delicate balance at all times. And it could be tied to a memory that he had, absolutely. And he's sharing that with other people. And another thing I think is kind of cool about poetry is if you look back in history like 2,000 years ago or whatever, and we can pretty safely say like, wow, we have better medicine today. We have better technology. We have better ways to communicate with each other. But do we have better poetry? Not necessarily. So art is something that has kind of been an innate human need to express from the very earliest days. And it's not something we can kind of measure and quantify, say, which is better, how did we improve? It's harder to measure. And it's something that all of us can participate in, even if you don't feel like, oh, I'm not a good writer. It's like, well, you got to work at it. But the spark is in you already. Even if you don't become a famous poet, that's okay. Awesome. So I just wanted to share that with you. I really, I love that poem, and I hope that you can actually check out more of his work. He's a pretty cool poet. So the next thing I want to do with you guys is that you're all going to participate, and together we are going to tell a story. So to do this, you're each going to contribute just one sentence, just a single sentence. We'll have a beginning, a middle, and an end. So depending on where you go in the order of the students, you'll be contributing to one of those sections. And I want you to tell me, what does a story need? What are, like, back to basics, what do we need to tell a story? What's got to be in it? A plot. Absolutely. Story structure. we need, and when you say plot, here, let's do this. We're going to have a beginning, middle, and an end. Yes, there will be a climax in the story. That's kind of the most intense moment of the story where everything kind of reaches before we have a resolution. Absolutely, rising and falling action. And we're just kind of getting the basics here. What about, who is it about? What else do we need? Yeah, thank you, characters. It's got to be about somebody. Do the characters have to be humans? No, not necessarily. We can read a lot of pretty cool stories that are not about people. Yeah, protagonist, antagonist. So those are going to be the main character and then kind of the main villain. We also generally need a setting. It's got to take place somewhere. Does it need to take place in our world? No, it can take place in outer space. It can take place in an alternate reality, in a fantasy land that you create. Absolutely. And one more thing we're going to say, it needs a conflict. Without a conflict, without a central problem, you basically don't have a story. You've got to have something that the characters are going to overcome. Otherwise, there's nothing to talk about. So what we're going to do, keeping these elements in mind, when I call your name, you are going to give a sentence in the story. The only rule really is that you can't erase what the people before you did. So if somebody says like, okay, once upon a time, there was a poor villager named Fred who really wanted to have a cape made of velvet. The next person can't say, actually, he was really rich, so he just went and bought one. Well, you just killed the story. Now it's just awkward. So don't erase anything that someone before you said. Say, yes, okay, let's go with whatever you just said and add to it. If you notice the momentum in the story is kind of starting to die, add a new character. Up the conflict a little bit, right? So use your imaginations. There are no right or wrong answers. And I don't really know any of your names, so help me out a little bit when we get to that. So first of all, let's have Austin. Can you start us off?
Yeah. Once upon a time, there was a chicken named Chad.
Fabulous. That's great. All right. Next, in the baseball cap and big earphones. Go for it.
Fell off a cliff.
Sorry, I didn't catch the beginning of that.
Oh, fell off a cliff.
So we're still setting up our story. So since we're towards the beginning, let's learn a little bit more about Chad first.
Let's see. Wait, no, never mind. I don't know really.
So maybe instead of he fell off.
Let's say has a friend named Giga Chad.
A friend named what?
Giga Chad.
Spell that for me in the chat.
Giga. Giga.
You know what? We're going to go with your first idea. We're going to say he lived near a cliff. because I think the cliff could come into the story later. We just can't have him fall off right away.
Breathing the air. Oh.
Sorry, I didn't catch the beginning. You gotta unmute yourself.
God. How about then he fell off the cliff?
So I feel like at some point in the story, this chicken's gonna fall off the cliff, but it's too early in the story to have something that traumatic. We don't know enough about him yet. So give us some more info.
You can't laugh or smile. I don't know. The chicken had a pet dog. Oh wow.
He had a pet dog.
What the?
I mean, that could be. Are you playing a game right now?
No. Yeah.
So you're playing a game and you're lying? Wow.
No, I just don't know what to say. No. Wait, what is it? What is it?
All right, whoever's sitting next to you is not being super helpful. So he lived near a cliff. What else could we learn about this chicken? What does he like to do? What is he doing on the day? Let's start the story. What's he doing? What's kind of the inciting incident? One day
he's biking.
He was biking. Okay, one day he was biking where?
Near the cliff.
Yeah. Oh wow.
We're already near the cliff, along the cliff's edge. There's more tension there.
Bam. I was on the kill cam, but I was the one that died.
All right, Ice, what do you think?
What?
What happens next?
He hit a rock and fell off his bike.
Ooh, okay, I like it. Very specific. All right. In the dark headphones, I can't hear you. And black sweatshirt. Can you tell me your name? Jerome, go for it. Jerome, what happens next? Jerome number 1. If you want to put it in the chat, okay. Oh, you don't have a mic, okay. So he's already he fell off his bike, and then what? He rolled, okay, so falling down, okay. Perfect, so he's not dead. All right, next we have, let's see. Can't see your name, but your picture is with the sunglasses. An eagle. Oh, okay, I like it. And let's have Brady.
And the eagle took him to his or her nest.
We know it's a guy. It's in his chat.
Oh.
The eagle.
No, the eagle. The eagle took him to the nest.
Gotcha. The eagle took him to his nest. All right, Jerome number 3. Let's make sure your webcam is on. what happens next? You can put it in the chat too, that's fine. Go ahead and finish. This will be our last one. Finish off the story. He's figuring what out? So he's already back in the nest. How are we going to end the story? Give us like a concluding thought. Well, we haven't seen the eagle have any kids, and right now we're at Chad's nest, so that doesn't really make happily ever after. That's a little boring. All right, let's keep on topic here. Oh, and unless you meant the eagle's nest, I took you to mean that he took him back to Chad's house, but that's an important distinction, pronoun confusion. Where is Chad? Is he with the eagle, or is he at his house or the eagle?
He's at the eagle. He's with the eagle's house.
Okay, well then getting eaten makes sense then, absolutely. The eagle's children ate him. Yeah, we have a sad story here. All right, thank you. So now that we have our rough draft, the first draft is always just about getting some words on the page. There's not really, there shouldn't be a lot of judgment, right? You're just getting your ideas out. Okay, we're gonna keep the chat relevant to what we're talking about. Otherwise we'll have to disable it, and that's not fun. So the next thing we do is we edit. Looking at the very beginning of our story here, it's great. We establish a character, where he lives, the action begins. Here's where I think we can do a little bit of cleaning up. He hit a rock and fell off his bike. He rolled down the cliff. How do you think we can maybe put those sentences together so it's not like he did this, he did that? Because you guys are in junior high, and that's like kind of early elementary school writing, is starting with the same word in the same kind of order. What do you think? How can we put those sentences together? These two. Any ideas?
Epic.
Yes. No.
Any ideas? You look like you were talking, so I thought you had an idea.
You could say he hit a rock, then fell off his bike.
Good, and we want to combine it with that second sentence there as well.
Then add and rolled down the cliff.
Okay. Oh, I really like what Austin said here, because it's more detailed. He caught a rock, or yeah, he rock with his tire and fell off his bike. Then, like you said, add the word then, he rolled down the hill. Awesome. Or rolled down the cliff. An eagle came in and saved him. But did he actually save him? No, he was taking him for dinner. So what we can do is add a little irony here. An eagle came and Chad thought he was saved. Chad thought he was saved, but we're the reader and we're gonna go, uh-oh, was he actually saved, though. The eagle took him to his nest. The eagle's children ate him. So this is kind of the same problem as before, where we have very simple sentence structure, back to back. It just sounds a little juvenile. I think we can make it a little more mature sounding. How can we combine those
The eagle's children were very hungry and wanted a snack.
Awesome. Okay, so the eagle took him to his nest. The eagle's children were very hungry and wanted a snack, so they ate him.
For Sunday dinner.
Okay, the eagle's children were waiting for their, do we think this is a mom eagle or a dad eagle?
A mom.
Maybe the mom eagle for their mother. They were very hungry and wanted a snack, so they ate Chad. So we know who we're talking about. Pronoun confusion can get a little confusing, so when in doubt, use the character's name, just to keep readers from getting confused. So looking at our story, not bad. In just a couple minutes, using everyone's collective imaginations, we put together a perfectly decent little story. It's a sad story for Chad. I guess for the eagle children, it's a happy story because they got their snack. It depends on whose perspective you're looking at. And perspective is a very important thing in writing. Who is writing? What context are they writing in? And who are they writing to? So nice work, you guys. So for those of you who were paying attention and participating, thank you so much. Let me tell you, a creative writing class, you're only gonna get as much out of it as what you put in. So if you're here and you're ignoring what I'm talking about, or you're goofing off with whoever's sitting next to you, or you're playing a game, I mean, that's your choice, but I would really hope that you care enough about learning how to write that you are going to put some effort in, because you're worth it, right? There's a lot you can learn. You can improve your writing, and it's gonna help you everywhere. A lot of jobs these days require writing, and if you're a good writer, that's only gonna help you. So we're gonna have a lot of fun in this class, and let me know if there's any topic in particular you would like to think about, and we can totally dive into those things. So without further ado, it was great to meet you guys today, and I will see you again soon.
Thank you.
Yeah, see ya.
Thank you.